Hi, this is Elliot Fishman, and let's go back to Felix 2.0, where we're going. And we left off last time beginning to talk about radiomics. And we've spoken to you about radiomics before. Basically, what you're doing with radiomics is coming up with information from the CT scan that you really can't visualize. It's basically creating different data sets from the CT scan, looking at specific features that are buried within the images themselves. And the idea is that the imaging conveys information about biology, behavior, and pathophysiology. And people have used radiomics, and you'll see with pancreas, for early detection of tumors. They've also used it for staging. They've used it to predict response. They've used it to select patients for surgery. And they're also using it as a way of trying to come up with new chemotherapy. So it has many, many potential opportunities. In this article by Schur, making the point, you select the images you want to look at, you pull out the pancreas, so you need to segment out the pancreas, and then you look at features. You can talk about 500 to 50,000 features, but then you look for the 50 or less features, usually is under 10 at the end of the day, that are critical, that will help you determine the specific question you're asking. You then build a model, and then you have to validate and look at performance. One issue with radiomics to date has been that it often works well on the initial data set, but the second you change anything from slice thickness to scanner type to just new patients, it doesn't work as well. So reproducibility has been one of its challenges. With radiomics, just a few points, you look at many different features, texture, you run different filters to accentuate data, and it's really a promising tool. It provides a more adequate and reproducible measurement of the tumor than other methods. In addition, the combination of radiomics and genomics has a promising future. In this article by Pinta, that article by Pinta also makes the point, and it's radiomics and pancreatic cancer for oncologists, present and future. Radiomics is changing the world of medicine, and more specifically the world of oncology. Early diagnosis and treatment improve the prognosis of patients with cancer. And it concludes by, some studies have validated its use to differentiate normal tissues from tumor tissue with high sensitivity and specificity, and to differentiate cystic lesions and pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors with texture parameters, and even grade those neuroendocrine tumors, grade 1 or 2 or 3. They mentioned the work that Chu, that's from the Felix project, has done with pancreatic cancer, with the high sensitivity and specificity, creating signatures for normal pancreas, and pancreas with adenocarcinoma. And here's that article by Linda. There is the potential to combine this algorithm with automated organ segmentation algorithms for automatic detection of PDACs. Now, the way we've done it to date is basically have one of our people draw and segment out the pancreas. That's not practical if you want to do it on many patients. And so we are developing, and I'll show you algorithms which pull out the pancreas. Now, this is from our article, but when you look at radiomics, again, this idea of filters and texture and shape and first and second order statistics, the use of random forests is the typical classifier, and then creating this fingerprint for normal or abnormal, for specific grade or tissue type. And again, the importance of learning what the signature is. You need to look at normals, you need to look at abnormals, eventually need to look at other tumor types to see how good this radiomics really is. And again, that work is being done, and we've done a lot of it. And here's just from our article about PDAC, showing the signature being different for normal patients versus patients with PDAC. And you can see the accuracy, high 90s, accuracy 99.2%, sensitivity 100%, specificity 98.5%. Indeed, very impressive numbers. We've also used radiomics as a way of looking and classifying cystic neoplasms, and it was just as good or better than an experienced radiologist. Radiomics-based machine learning achieved equivalent performance as an experienced radiologist in the classification of pancreatic cysts. The high diagnostic accuracy can potentially maximize the efficiency of healthcare utilization by maximizing detection of high-risk lesions. So again, moving far beyond just adenocarcinoma, and very, very important information. Here's one of the articles on the radiomics signature. Again, one of the conclusions, improved diagnostic accuracy can potentially maximize the efficiency of healthcare utilization. So very, very important. In this other article, we looked at the distinguishing features between autoimmune pancreatitis and PDAC. And again, you could read some of the details, but at the end of the day, radiomics help differentiate autoimmune pancreatitis from pancreatic cancer with an accuracy of 95%, which is substantially better than radiologists on their own. In this article, looking at non-functioning pancreatic neuroendocrine tumors, non-invasive grading, non-invasive assessment of tumor grade in patients with neuroendocrine tumors using the proposed radiomic signature demonstrated high accuracy. So you can see we're doing pancreatic cancer, we're doing autoimmune pancreatitis, we're doing neuroendocrine tumors, all things that tend to overlap when you're dealing with things. And here's just a nice example showing you some of the automation on the computer programming in that case. In this article by Javid, again, talking about these radiomic signatures in neuroendocrine tumors, which is indeed very important. Now, in terms of AI in pancreatic imaging, in this article by Taha Ahmed in our group, talking about the ability to really analyze, the ability to distinguish precancerous lesions from cancerous lesions, the ability to detect high-grade dysplasia, the ability to differentiate between chronic pancreatitis and cancer. Again, things that we have difficulty doing. This is where AI is going to do better. And in this radiomics, here's just two articles I won't go into, but this is from the work at the Mayo Clinic, showing that on pre-diagnostic scans done 1 to 3.5 years before the patients presented with pancreatic cancer, by looking at the radiomics features on those scans, you could pick up early pancreatic cancer, where even in retrospect, the radiologist could not see the masses. So indeed, it's very, very exciting. Now, I mentioned that we draw by hand the pancreas. We are working, and others are working on being able to isolate the pancreas. Here's some work we're doing with Microsoft. And just to show you that what we did here was looking at the DICE score for the computer automatically segmenting out the pancreas from the 3D volumes. We looked at normals, we looked at cancer, we looked at a range of different patients. We compared a series of 100 patients that were normal cases just to compare 4 experts with the computer. And you can see there is variation between the experts doing it by hand, but in general, all of their results were obviously very good, but it was taking at least an hour to do this study. With this various models using a range of computer programs from NNUNet to UNETR to Total Segmenter, we were able to get the same accuracy, basically the same DICE scores, with the computer isolating the pancreas. It wasn't perfect, but people weren't perfect either. High agreement, over 95%. And again, as we optimize these algorithms, it becomes very important, because if you really want to do it in practice, everything needs to be automated. We've put a lot of time looking at where errors are. Patients with low abdominal fat, patients with pancreatic fatty infiltration have been a challenge, and sometimes patients with pancreatitis or other areas of inflammation nearby. But again, we are working on those, trying to really improve. And again, where computers have problems, it's where people, radiologists, technologists doing the segmenting have problems as well. So again, we're not perfect yet, but we're on the way there. Now, of course, the automated segmentation, the accuracy becomes so important. If you look at radiomics models, the more accurate the segmentation, the more accurate the radiomics. So if you don't get the entire gland or you have too much additional non-pancreas, your radiomics signature will change and it will not be as accurate. So if you look at our pipeline, the idea is for automated segmentation, feature harmonization. You're looking then at taking perhaps even further, looking at radiogenomics, looking at survival, and putting all of these various pieces together to get an optimal pipeline. And you can see this article was published when I was giving this presentation talking about IPMNs, that it is not possible to generalize that some IPMNs have the potential to progress to cancer over time. Although results of this study should be validated in larger cohorts, they represent useful clinical data from an unselected population-based cohort that helps challenge current IPM surveillance policies that recommend lifetime active surveillance. The point here is that the challenges we have is this idea about 10-year minimum follow-up would basically bankrupt the system. And for an entity like IPMNs, when 97% of the cases will not progress to cancer, it's a lot of effort for a very small impact. The idea about, in the future, a multi-omics approach with clinical, radiologic, metabolic, and molecular and genomic data may increase the probability of finding accurate biomarkers associated with the risk stratification of IPMNs and their management in view of personalized medicine. And so what we're doing is really personalized medicine. Now, I've mentioned this before, but I also will repeat it. There was a study done looking at cystic pancreatic lesions and suspicion of malignancy, around 860 cases that all went to surgery. This was done by leading surgeons, leading GI folks. These are all patients who went to surgery because it was felt they had high suspicion for high-grade dysplasia or tumor. Yet only 40% of the patients at PATH had lesions that needed to be resected. There was a ComSys program developed by Bert Vogelstein that was able to increase with computer programming from 40% accuracy to 60% accuracy. But with our work with Microsoft, with Juan Ferez and his GBM, was able to basically change those numbers. Again, 40 to 60 is nothing to sneeze at, but we need to do better. And so on our project for looking and analyzing the same exact data, we were able to change what we were able to do. We were able to look at the accuracy and interpretability. We used a range of different algorithms and decision trees. We employed explainable boosting machine, which is a transparent form of AI, which is really good in medical imaging. And we were able to use that to basically then look at the same data set and approach 90% accuracy. We also looked at probabilities, not for the group, but for the individual patient. For instance, within a cohort where patients exhibit an 80% probability of pancreatic cancer, it can be anticipated that 80% will indeed be diagnosed with the condition. We advocate for an AI-driven model to emit authentic probability assessment. A patient may present with 99.9% probability of cancer, markedly contrast with 1 at 50%. So we need to do probabilities for the individual, not simply for the group. And you could see with that EBM model, we looked at all of the data that was originally in those 860 patients. We did exactly what the ComSys did. If they threw out patients, we threw them out. We tried simply to do what the ComSys did, except we used new algorithms. And our accuracy was substantially better across the board. The results were particularly good. EBM versus MoCA, which was the ComSys, which was current state of the art. When you look at all the confusion matrices, when you look at all of the data, and I won't go through that, but you can stop this talk and read the charts yourself. And hopefully by the time you hear this talk, the article on this will be in press. But basically, we were able to change the model of who went to surgery, who was followed, and who was not needed to be followed. And it became very important because when you start looking at the data, the number of patients who did not go to surgery, basically we avoided 92 unnecessary surgeries, which was a 59% reduction. We were able to monitor patients or discharge patients. The improvement was either 122% or 138%. So you could see the advantages by this technique. That's very, very exciting. Other things that are exciting is how do we build ChatGPT into this? Large language models are a way of looking at data mining, patient communication, and clinical support. Can we build ChatGPT into the same framework to connect all the information and reach even better conclusions and think about the future of pancreatic imaging, combining from segmentation to classification, to radiomics, to deep learning, to ChatGPT, putting it all together to basically triage the patients correctly. Again, it's important that we do this well. Radiologists want AI, but their expectations of AI are very, very high. Even if a radiologist, we say that the accuracy is 70%, they want AI to be 95%. If you're 70%, 80 would seem very good. No, but they want 95%. The minimal acceptable sensitivity of an AI program for detection of pancreatic cancer, Linda Chu wrote this article, was either 90 or 95% with a specificity at 95%. They wanted AI to pick up 5mm lesions. Good luck on that. But again, they were willing to incorporate these tools, but their expectations indeed were very high, which means our expectations of what we are doing need to be very high. Now, there's no doubt the speed of change has never been as rapid as today. It's the best of times and the worst of times. Whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's radiomics, whether it's deep learning, whether it's AI in general, everything is changing at breakneck speed. We want to be part of that change. We want to be at the front end. We want to change the management of our patients with this very dreadful disease. And I think we have a good shot. I'll just tell you that we're working hard with Microsoft and we're working hard with Lustgarten, and we think the future is indeed very bright. And with that, I wish you a great day. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the CTisus YouTube channel. You can also visit us at CTisus.com for even more videos, plus quizzes, pearls, protocols, and oh so much more. We're also in the App Store and have well over a dozen apps for iPhone and iPad, all completely free. Thanks for watching.